My name is Celandine Rowe, and I was the forgotten one. Last Christmas dinner, everyone in my family received beautifully wrapped gifts except me. It wasn't an accident. No one gasped. No one apologized. They just moved on. Like my empty hands weren't even worth noticing. But I didn't cry. I didn't flinch. What they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was that I had already given myself the best gift of all. Not just a new home, not just a six-figure bonus from one of the most respected tech firms in the country. What I gave myself was something they could never take back. The power to walk away from people who never saw me, and that night, I finally used it. I grew up in a house that praised golden boys and ignored quiet girls. My brother Grant was the golden boy. Star quarterback, prom king, early acceptance to Stanford. He walked into every room like it owed him applause, and usually it gave it. I was the background, not the disappointment, not the rebel, just forgettable. My earliest memory of being invisible was at age 10, when Grant got a brand new bike and I got socks. My mom said it was because girls don't ride bikes anyway, but I did. I rode the neighbor's hand-me-down after she threw it out until the tires burst. Things didn't get better with age. At 13, I sat silently on the stairs while my parents and my brother celebrated his latest report card. Straight A's, of course. I had straight A's too, but no one asked, no one noticed. And when I did speak, it was like tossing words into a black hole. By 16, I had stopped trying to belong. I poured myself into books, into coding, into understanding how systems worked, because at least systems made sense. At school, I joined the tech club, not because it was cool, but because it was mine. The logic, the rules, the control. It gave me something I never had at home. Stability. Then came the Thanksgiving dinner from hell. My father stood up to toast Grant's entrepreneurial spirit and vision. He was launching a business funded entirely by our parents. My mother beamed. Then she turned to me and added, "We just hope Celandine finds a steady job. Maybe something safe like clerical work." An uncle chuckled. "I hear the deli down the street is hiring cashiers." The whole table laughed. I didn't, because that week I had just received a full scholarship to one of the top tech programs in New York City. Tuition, housing, stipend, all covered. I hadn't told anyone yet, not because I was hiding it, but because I knew it wouldn't matter to them. I left home a month later with a single suitcase and a silent promise. I will never come back to beg for their approval. They hadn't seen me in years, and I was going to make sure that when they did, they wouldn't recognize the woman I had become. New York didn't welcome me. It swallowed me whole. I landed in the city with a scholarship and a suitcase full of hand-me-downs. My dorm room was barely larger than a closet, and my first night there, I cried into a borrowed pillow. The walls were thin. Someone next door was blasting music. Another person was vomiting in the hallway. It wasn't the dream. It was the grind. But the grind suited me. I took classes during the day and cleaned hotel rooms at night. Weekends were for tutoring underclassmen in Python or troubleshooting laptop issues for extra cash. I didn't party. I didn't date. I worked. I worked because I knew the only way to outrun the version of me they had written off was to become someone they could no longer afford to ignore. And slowly, I did. By junior year, I was interning at a cybersecurity firm downtown. I was the only woman on the floor, the only one under 30, and the only person who didn't ask for help. I figured things out myself. They respected that. By the end of the summer, they offered me a part-time job to stay on while I finished school. I accepted and never looked back. I moved out of the dorms and into a shared apartment with 2 other women in Brooklyn who were also clawing their way into something better. Rent was brutal. The heat barely worked, and we had to take turns plunging the bathroom sink. But it was ours. For the first time in my life, I belonged somewhere. Graduation came with honors, job offers, and no one in the crowd cheering for me except for my 2 roommates, who held up a sign made out of a pizza box. Go sell and Dinah, go build the damn thing. And I did. I joined the same firm full-time and rose fast. Too fast, maybe. I wasn't trying to climb the ladder. I was building my own. My code became essential to the firm's infrastructure. When a major bank was hacked in early 2020, I designed the patch. When a government contractor needed a custom security suite, I built it from scratch. By 28, I was making six figures. By 30, I was leading projects. By 31, I closed a multi-year licensing deal with a European financial firm that paid me a bonus large enough to make my bank account blink twice before confirming it had gone through. I didn't call home. I didn't tell them. Not because I was petty, because I had learned their silence was never about distance. It was about disinterest. They didn't ask. So I stopped offering. Instead, I took a piece of that bonus and bought a condo in Boston. 2 bedrooms, minimalist design, stainless steel, everything. Floor-to-ceiling windows that made the city skyline feel like part of the furniture. I moved in mid-December, a week before Christmas. My friends came over with Thai takeout and cheap wine, and we sat on the floor because I hadn't bought furniture yet. Someone gave me a candle shaped like a dragon. Another gifted a mug that read, "Just because you're quiet doesn't mean you're weak." We toasted to new beginnings. Lisa, my loudest and kindest friend, raised her glass and said to Celandine, the quiet one who roared. I smiled, not because I needed the praise, but because I needed the reminder. And that's when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Mara, my cousin. We hadn't spoken in nearly a decade. "Hey," it read, "your mom wants to know if you'll come home for Christmas." I stared at it for a long time. Not come visit. Not we miss you. Just come home. I showed it to Lisa. "You going?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. But later that night, standing by the window, the skyline stretching out in front of me like a secret I'd kept too long, I whispered the truth out loud. "I think I have to." Not because they deserved it, but because I needed to see with my own eyes what I'd left behind and what I'd become. I drove up to Massachusetts Avenue in the early morning mist. The kind that makes everything look like it's holding its breath. The 6-hour drive felt shorter than expected. Maybe because I was rehearsing what I'd say, or maybe because I knew I wouldn't say any of it. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Sagging gutters, paint peeling around the windows, weeds curling over the driveway like they'd claimed it. There was still a plastic Santa on the roof, the same one from when I was 12, only now it was missing a boot. I stood on the porch with my overnight bag in one hand and a tin of cookies I'd picked up out of obligation in the other. My hand hovered over the doorbell longer than I'd admit. When I finally pressed it, the chime sounded tired, fitting. The door opened to my mother's face, surprised, then studied, then stiffly polite. "Well," she said, "you look different." "I am," I replied. She pulled me into a one-armed hug that lasted exactly 1 second longer than necessary. Inside, the house smelled exactly the same. Lemon polish, old upholstery, and disappointment. The living room was full. Cousins, uncles, people I hadn't seen since I left. Conversations stopped as I stepped in, like someone had turned down the volume. A voice from the kitchen broke the silence. "Hey, look who's here." Grant. Of course. He came out beaming, one arm around his wife's shoulders, the other gesturing to her swollen belly. "Everyone. This is Mia. Your future niece or nephew's in there," he said, patting her stomach. Polite applause. I offered a smile. "Congratulations. Still working with computers or whatever?" he asked, voice light but laced with condescension. "I work in cybersecurity," I replied. "Enterprise-level AI defense." He let out a low whistle. "Wow. Still doing the techie basement thing, huh?" I didn't respond. Didn't need to. Dinner was announced with a clap from my mother. "Let's eat before it gets cold." "Celandine, your old room is now Grant's office, so we've made up the couch for you." Of course, they had. We sat down for dinner. I was placed at the end of the table next to the kitchen door, practically in the hallway. I didn't complain. I didn't say anything at all. Grant held court like always, explaining some vague startup idea involving revolutionary media architecture, buzzwords and ego. "All. I just need the capital to launch," he said. 200,000 should get us rolling." My father nodded. My mother patted his hand. "Family helps family." I chewed a forkful of overcooked turkey and said nothing. After dinner, my mom handed me a scratchy blanket and gestured to the couch. I lay there under the flicker of the hallway light, listening to their laughter upstairs. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. Christmas morning came like a scene out of a commercial. Mia and Grant bounded down the stairs, tearing into presents with glee. Boxes stacked high. Ribbons flew. Everyone oohed and awed over the gifts I'd brought, carefully selected, personalized, and wrapped with handwritten notes. Then it came to my turn, except it didn't. "Oh no," my mother said far too loudly. "Celandine, we completely forgot." Grant laughed. "Just like the good old days. Don't cry this time, sis." And that was it. Something inside me stilled. Not rage, not hurt, just clarity. I reached into my purse and pulled out a single item. My keys. The brushed steel caught the morning light. "What's that?" my dad asked. "The keys to my apartment," I said. "I closed on it last week. 2-bedroom condo in Boston. Hardwood floors, built-in smart security system, fully paid off." The room went silent. "You bought an apartment?" my mother blinked. "With what money?" "My job," I said. "My company licensed a security framework I built. The bonus was $160,000 after taxes." Forks paused midair. Grant's jaw twitched. Mia stopped smiling. My dad leaned forward. "You've been making that kind of money for years." My mother's tone shifted instantly. "Sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? We're so proud of you." Proud? For a moment, I almost laughed. But I didn't. "I should pack," I said instead. "I've got a long drive back," they protested. My mother begged me to stay for brunch. My father said we hadn't even talked about my exciting career, but I had seen enough, and they had shown me everything I needed to know. I came downstairs with my bag still unzipped and my resolve zipped tight. They were waiting for me, my parents, standing just beyond the threshold of the living room, arms folded, smiles too polished to be genuine. Grant and Mia flanked them, trying and failing to look casual. "Before you go," my father began. I raised an eyebrow. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Grant stepped forward like a man doing me a favor. "This startup I've been building, it's really close to taking off. Just needs a little push. Capital mostly." "How much?" I asked. He smiled, cocky as ever. 200,000. That would get us rolling. My mother nodded eagerly. "It's an investment, honey. You'd be helping family." "Yeah," Grant added. "With what you're making, it's nothing. You said you got that big bonus, right?" And there it was. The reason they suddenly remembered I existed. I looked around that room, the same room where I used to sit on the floor while Grant opened his brand new gadgets and I got thrift store cast-offs. The same room where, not 24 hours ago, they forgot to get me a Christmas gift. "No," I said plainly. It landed like a slap. My mother froze. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, I'm not giving you 200,000 or two or two." "But we're family," my dad said, like the word still meant something. I laughed once, not bitterly, just truthfully. "You mean now we're family?" Silence. "Where was that family?" I continued. "When I asked for help covering textbooks, and you told me to take out loans. When you turned my bedroom into an office before I even left for college. When you told me I could sleep on the couch while Grant got a car and a tuition check. That was different." My mother snapped. "Things were tight back then." I nodded slowly, but not tight for Grant. "He showed promise," she said too quickly, then backpedaled. "I mean, we thought college might not be the right fit for you." "No," I said. "You just assumed I wasn't worth the risk." Grant stepped forward, puffed up like he was still wearing a high school letter jacket. "Unbelievable. You make it big and suddenly think you're better than us." "I don't think I'm better," I said. "I think I'm finally done pretending we were ever equal." "You selfish brat," he spat, "after all we've done for you." "For me?" I snapped. "You mean tolerating me while worshipping Grant? You mean throwing jokes at my expense at every dinner table? You mean forgetting me every holiday and pretending it was some innocent slip-up?" My mother's voice was shrill now. "We gave you a roof, food, parenting," I said coldly. "Not charity. And you made sure I knew I was never wanted." My hand tightened around my suitcase handle. I turned toward the door. "Don't walk out like this," my dad said. "We're just trying to build something." "You already did," I replied. "You built a hierarchy, and I just stopped trying to climb it. I stepped outside into the cold, crisp air. Behind me, they shouted about regrets, about forgiveness, about family. None of it mattered. By the time I hit the highway, my phone was buzzing every few minutes. Missed calls, voicemails, texts from numbers I didn't recognize, but knew too well. Words like ungrateful, selfish, cold, flung like confetti at a party I'd never RSVP'd to. At a gas station just past the state line, I scrolled through them all, then blocked every number I didn't care to hear from again, except Sarah. When I got back to my apartment in Boston, it was quiet, peaceful. I poured a glass of wine and stood by the window, watching the skyline blink like the city was breathing with me. Sarah texted, "Mom's telling everyone you refuse to help, that you've changed." "Good," I replied. "Maybe now they'll stop pretending I ever owed them anything." A day later, the cousins came. "Family is everything," one message read. "You should support your brother." Delete. Block. Another said, "Wow, you're cold." Maybe, but cold is what you become when you're tired of being burned. It's been 7 months since that Christmas. 7 months since I walked out of the house where I was raised and never looked back. Since then, life hasn't just moved forward, it's unfolded. I was promoted in March, head of engineering. The title didn't matter as much as what came with it. A team that respects me, creative freedom, and a compensation package that would have made my teenage self think I was dreaming. That same month, I met Elliot at a tech conference in Cambridge. He was quiet like me, but steady, a freelance designer who understood the chaos of startups and, more importantly, the silence that follows a toxic family. We got coffee, then dinner, then we didn't stop. Elliot doesn't ask for pieces of me I'm not willing to give. He doesn't try to fix me. He sees me, and that's enough. Sarah still calls every week, not because she has to, but because she wants to. She keeps me updated, though I rarely ask. Apparently, Grant and Mia are still living with my parents. The startup never got off the ground. The story my family tells now is simple. I abandoned them. I turned my back. I let money ruin me. It's easier, I guess, than admitting the truth. I was never theirs to lose. They tried reaching out through every channel. Old friends, distant cousins, even former teachers. I blocked each attempt, each guilt trip disguised as concern. My mother left a voicemail a month ago. Her voice trembled as she said, "Family is forever, Celandine." I didn't respond, because I've learned forever only applies when it's mutual, not conditional, not when it only kicks in once you've become useful. Elliot and I are planning a trip to Japan. We've been learning the language together, bookmarking noodle spots and old shrines. Sometimes, when we talk about the future, he asks what I'd name a dog if we got one, or if I'd ever consider leaving Boston for good. The thought doesn't scare me. Not anymore. This city gave me space to grow. But now I know that what mattered wasn't the city. It was me. I've stopped mourning the family I never really had. And I've started building something better, something chosen, something whole. To anyone listening who's felt the sting of being overlooked, forgotten, dismissed, please hear me when I say this. You do not have to stay where you're unseen. You are not selfish for choosing peace. And you don't need anyone's permission to live the life you deserve. So walk away if you need to. Run if you must. Build a life that reflects your worth, not their expectations. Because the truth is, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say isn't "I forgive you." It's "I'm done." And when you say it like you mean it. Because peace isn't found in their acceptance. It's found in your own. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated, comment, like, and subscribe to support our content.